get ready for the next iteration of you on your path to becoming wealthy. On this show, you'll get the insider's view on wealth creation, the class none of us got taught in school, with my co-host, daughter, and beginning investor, Sophia Bosch. And now, let's get started. Welcome to another episode of the Becoming Wealthy podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Bosch, and my co-host,
Sophia Bosch.
And in today's episode, we are talking about champagne problems. No, we're really talking about selling a piece of property that you have under contract. Where is it at, and how many acres is it?
It is 5 acres in Maricopa County, Arizona.
Okay, and we're basically going to go through the process of deciding whether we're going to sell it for cash or we're going to use seller financing, which means somebody gives us a down payment, and over the course of the next 5-8 years, with them making monthly payments, they're going to pay off their property. And so we want to see which of these two options is more profitable. And based on that analysis, we can make a better decision of, whether we're going to do it for quick cash or wait a little longer, but make a whole lot more money. And we're going to go ahead and take this, Sophia, to the whiteboard so that we can see those numbers and make our decision. Okay? Let's go. Okay, Sophia, so we have right now a property that we're trying to decide on whether we're going to do a cash sale or we're doing a seller financing sale. So this is kind of like the analysis right here that we would have to go through in order to basically decide. And I want us to go through the numbers of what it would look like if we basically sold it for cash. If we sold a property for cash, in order to wholesale it quickly to possibly another investor or to somebody that even if they're the end customer, we want to make it such that they have the money in the bank to pay us cash for that transaction. So usually when we do a cash sale, we usually sell a property for less than we would if we were doing seller financing. When we're doing seller financing, because we're offering a service that is not typically available to borrowers and to buyers out there, we can get away with getting closer to market value. This one would be below market value, and this one closer to market value, because the attractiveness of the sale comes from the actual terms that you're offering to your buyer. Right. So let's break it down. If we were to use an $18,500 as a price point, for a cash sale, and we calculated that commissions usually with a realtor are about 10%, that would come to $1,800 in commission expenses. Closing costs can be anywhere between $900 and $1,200. So let's err on the side of being conservative, and let's basically overestimate, and let's go for the $1,200. And the purchase price, meaning what we have purchased the property for, here it's $6,000. We already own it outright. We wanted to make sure that we, didn't have the situation where our contract gets expired. Yep. And so we went ahead and purchased it outright. So it's $6,000. So at the end of the day, if we subtract the $1,850, the $1,200, the $6,000 from the $18,500, we end up with profits. Ooh, and I love your little,
bunny and my hedgehog.
And your hedgehog. We end up with profits of $9,450, so $9,450, and that's like yay, hooray! That is like amazing money, especially if you're 16. Yeah. However, I also want us to look at, and this would be cash in the bank right away, and you go about sending out more mailing and using some of that money, to market and so on and so forth. If we were to do seller financing, though, like I mentioned earlier, we would use a higher dollar amount, price point, something that is closer to market value, and still a little bit below so that we get a little bit of traction, but closer to market value, the same commission amount of 10%, which in this case would be $2,200. 10% of $22,000 is $2,200. Closing costs the same, $1,200. Now, if we were to sell this on terms, it's very typical in the land world to charge anywhere between 12 and even 13, 14, 15%. I have put it here at 12.9% as a possible interest. Mm-hmm. But you could take a little bit less than that if somebody actually puts down a bigger down payment. Right. But let's say that we're offering it at an interest rate of 12.9%. And that person that buys it is going to put a down payment of $4,400. Why 4,400? Because that constitutes about 20%. You don't ever want to sell a property on terms with a down payment less than 20%, because when people don't have enough money in the deal, basically that they have given to you, they're less likely to make their monthly payments. They need to have enough money in the deal so that they want to continue making the monthly payments and don't stop making their payments. Which, if that would happen, there's nothing wrong. You would have collected on the down payment on whatever monthly payments they would have made, right, and then you sell the property again. So that's not a problem. That's not a problem. You wouldn't lose this property if somebody stops making payment. You would just sell it again and actually make more money. But let's say then that they have made this down payment of $4,400. The interest is 12.9%. Their monthly payment, using that, those two numbers, when we put it into the clerk sheet, which is something that we use inside of our land profits program in order to basically calculate the numbers, right, we found out that the monthly payments would come out to about $300 a month, and that the length of that person making $300 a month payment would be about 96 months, which is 8 years. Yeah. So when we do this, what happens, Sophia, is that when we use seller financing, somebody that has paid 12.9% now is being charged interest. Yeah. Their interest expense is your interest income. Okay. Income. So the cost of them basically financing this property with you is more. It would be an additional $10,700 in interest expense that they're paying, because they're paying us 12.9% to give them the opportunity to pay over a period of time of 96 months, right, or 8 years. So the cost of credit to them is $10,700, but that means that this is additional profit to you that comes from the interest income. So now that's already more than. That's already, exactly. So now let's look at it. So if we have $22,000 minus the $2,200 from commission, minus the $1,200 from closing costs, kind of like what we have here. So up to this point is apples to apples. Yeah. Minus the $6,000, we're still apples to apples. Plus, and this is where it makes a big difference. Plus the $10,703 that you now have as interest income, which is cost to your buyer for financing. Your profit comes to $23,300. So we're looking at either we sell it quickly for cash for $9,400, or do we sell it using seller financing where we get $4,400, down in the moment, which allows us to pay the realtor and allows us to pay for closing, right, costs. Or do we have these $23,000, but over a course of 8 years? So what do you want to do? Now that you have the numbers here, what do you think is good? Because this is like, look at that. This is more than double.
Yeah, but that's in 8 years.
But that's in 8 years.
Honestly, I would rather have the seller financing, because you have that $300 guaranteed not guaranteed entirely, but you know that it's going to be coming in.
Exactly. And now this gives you the ability to start creating some passive income. And the best thing, Sophia, is that now here, what you could do is, if you sold it using seller financing, you will make so much more. And if you have a situation where you get into a cash crunch, you could always sell the land note, yeah, and basically sell maybe at 90%, 97% of this, of this value of the note, and still be able to get cash in if you get into some kind of a cash crunch. But you would definitely be way much more profitable with this option than with this option. Right. Yeah. Sometimes, we have expenses that are immediate in the moment that we need to address and to take care of. And then in that case, you would sell, you would sell for cash. But if you don't have this constraint and this obligation of having to pay, for a big expense, I would say start creating your passive income, start creating and building up your, your portfolio of notes that will give you balance sheet wealth versus income statement wealth. And yeah, let's do it. Let's do seller financing then. Is that a deal then?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Let's go on over. Now you know what it takes to decide on whether, you want to sell for cash or whether you want to extend credit. and use seller financing in order to sell your properties. Now you know the difference in terms of amounts of money that you're going to make, but that, that extra profit
looks better.
Yeah, it definitely looks better. It's just going to take a little longer. And are you okay based on your money rules, basically, with taking in $3,600 every month over the next 8 years? $3,600, in total, because
a year.
Yeah, because those $29,000, if we
imagine that if you had a bunch of these going. That's my thing.
Exactly. This would just be your very first one, and you basically from $6,000, you've been able to create $29,000. That's an additional $23,000 in equity, basically, that you were able to create and to add to your net worth, to your balance sheet. Now you have an asset. When you have created an asset.
That's how I create a net worth. Okay.
Yeah, that's how you basically increase your net worth, and you create an asset, because that notes receivable, that note that you have right now, where you extended credit to this person, is something that in the future, if you wanted to sell, you could sell. And you could sell for 90%, 97% of face value. So it would be much more money than the $90 something $100, $9,000 that you would, that you would get for quick cash. So I would say go for seller financing, make more money. And if you needed the cash, you can always sell the note. Yeah. So that's a wrap. Is that what we're doing? Decision made?
Yes.
Seller financing? Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for being with us on this journey, on this example, where Sophia is trying to decide whether she was going to sell her property, for cash or extending credit to someone. And I think the decision has been made, and I hope this was helpful to you in making your own decisions as far as, how you're going to sell your pieces of land if you're in the land flipping world, or just to look at an investment. How would you look at it? That's kind of like, the thinking behind it. If this episode was helpful to you, if you learned from it, leave us a 5-star review, subscribe, share with someone that is important to you, that you would love to basically edify and equip with financial knowledge and literacy. We would absolutely love it if you share the episode. Thank you so much.